Oh, my mother and I sang in church from the time I was 12 years old on, and I do happen to have one song on tape that we recorded that you recorded for me, and I sing it, once in a while, but and I wish I knew the last verse of it because Alan sang it at my mother's funeral, and he put a last verse to it, and the name of the song is "I'll Fly Away," and the last verse that he wrote and added to it is "I've flown away," and
Gotcha.
and that's the same thing I'd like to think of when you go to my funeral, that you think that Grandpa's flown away.
Grandpa's flown away.
And it goes something like this: I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll fly away.
That's awesome, man. Great voice. Where do you foresee our Jarvis family in the distant future?
Jason, that's a real big question, and we could spend all day today and half of tomorrow projecting and going into that. But I'll be as brief as I can. But I think before we project where they are, we have to analyze where the Jarvis family was and where it is now.
Right.
And my grandfather, Frank Jarvis, which, by the way, is your dad's middle name too,
Exactly.
came over from Ireland in about his parents came over in about 1850. He was born in the United States, but he was Irish by descent, and he had a very difficult life. He was left at the cemetery when his mother died, and his dad had died previous to that, because he was 9 years old, or 8 years old, nobody just took him home. They just left him there.
Wow.
So he wound up with his uncle and was kind of pretty much on his own, made his own way, couldn't read or write, but probably was one of the most intelligent men I ever met. And one of the things he told me is, I gave you something that is more important than any gift any man can have, and that's the name Jarvis. No disgrace. So that's the past. The present is, I tried to hold my family together as a very close-knit family. I had 3 boys and a girl, and kept them very close, and we continue to be close, and we were all together for Thanksgiving and all together for Christmas, at least the children and a lot of the grandkids. So today the Jarvis family is very close. They're close in proximity. I think they're close spiritually and close in a lot of ways. The future of the Jarvis family is going to be far different from that, as I see it. And the reason I say that is because it's so diversified. The grandkids are so diversified. And your brother, Daniel, is back in St. Louis, far removed. He has 3 daughters. He's chosen to live in a different culture, which is fine. We love him to death. And I guess when you're a mixed race, you have a choice of going one way or the other, and I think he chose that way. I think you chose right down the middle, so that's good too. But as far as the family is concerned, you've chosen this family, and not that Daniel has disbanded us or anything, but he's a long ways away, and he just chose a different direction. Junior, your other brother, is he's different again too, because he wasn't raised as a Jarvis. He wasn't raised with the Jarvises. And I see a far different culture for him too, and I just don't think if you project far enough that you would see that whole family would be close. And then as I look at the other kids, as you move up the ladder, there's Jeff's the youngest, your dad,
right.
And before I get off of that, I have to say that your Jeff Jr. said one time when he was here, he says, us 3 brothers are about as different as you can get. So if the 3 of us are in a room somewhere, I'd be the nerd, Jason would be the jock, and Daniel would be the gangster. So And I don't think any of you three of you resent that, because I
Not
think
at
you
all.
all see yourselves that way. But then if you go on up to Tim's son, I thought that he was going to be a golfer. I would have said long term he'd be a professional golfer and make a living that way. When that kind of fell apart and he was working at Stater Brothers, I thought that that's where his future would be, and someday he'd be a manager at Stater Brothers. And now that hasn't come to pass, so I don't know what to project for Ryan. He's going to be out there somewhere. And then if you go to the next one, it's Robert, and he has a little boy that's going to carry on the Jarvis name,
Yes, he is.
Tyler. And Tyler is like a little rubber band, and I kind of see him in Broadway plays or something like that, dancing or singing or something in the arts, something along those lines. And then as we go to my daughter, she didn't carry on the Jarvis name, obviously, but Dustin's middle name is Jarvis. That's her son, and you and Dustin are very, very close.
Very close.
So I see that continuing. I see you guys' closeness continuing into adulthood and even into your senior years, even to your 60s and maybe beyond. So I guess to sum that all up, I would say, Jason, that I see everybody going in a lot of different directions, and by the time you guys are in your 60s, I think that you and Dustin will be very close. I think that Daniel probably will grow apart. We'll be back in St. Louis and be in a whole different era. He doesn't have any boys yet, so we'll have to see what happens to him. So, you asked the question, why have I grown closer in the last year? And I kind of said I didn't, but I guess I have to back up a little bit and say that I have. Because the last 10 years I've got involved in the church, and I go to church, and I'm a lot more spiritual than I was before. And I guess, there's a lot of reasons, and probably the biggest one, if I'd really be honest about it, is I'm out of the corporate American world, and that's got lots of things that make you stumble and fall and keep you away from religion. So.
It's a very honest answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And our next question is: Are you scared of death?
No, absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. Because my Bible tells me to be absent from the body is to be present with my Lord. And where could I better off be? The things that I don't fear, but the things that I would regret is the people I left behind, because I know I'd be mourned. I hope it's minimal. I hope you celebrate my death rather than mourn my death, because I've had a good life. I've had a great life. The Lord has been good to me. I've been very successful.